It's such a beautiful day, and we have a beautiful show put together for you guys today on the Queen Amina Show. It's always a great pleasure for me to come right to you from the comfort of my home. I hope you guys are continuing to stay safe and stay healthy and maintaining social distance. That's why we're broadcasting from home, and it's such a pleasure to have all of you on the show today. Today, we have such an exciting and close to heart topic. It's coming all the way from my homeland, Africa. I am so excited because we're going to learn some very new things today. Some of the things that we already know, we are going to reinforce it because faith cometh by hearing. The more you hear these things, the more it's going to ring deep down in your heart, and you will begin to arise and do something about the problems, the challenges, the issues, the unforeseen things that our continent Africa is facing. We will find a solution as many of us are beginning to arise and realize that we need to take back the power, the glory, the God given strength and position that God has given to us long, long, long time ago through our many, 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 many fathers that have come to pass. So now we are realizing that, and we want to take that power back. And together we can. So today on our show, our guest is all the way from Calabar, Nigeria, the chairman of the Calabar Carnival in Cross River State in Nigeria. Who is better to talk about tourism and the opportunities that we have in tourism, reconnecting the world back to Africa? And also accompanying him is my precious newfound friend, Sharon Palacio. I hope I am saying that right, all the way from Belize. She just celebrated Africa Day in Belize. It was wonderful. Hello and welcome to the Queen Amina Show.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. It is so amazing that we are in 3 different continents and yet in the same room right now.
Awesome.
Isn't that beautiful? Thank you guys so much. So we are going to start by you introducing yourself to our audience. But before we do that, could we quickly just know how you guys are, getting used to the new norm that we have now concerning the COVID-19? Sharon, we'll start with you.
Okay. You said I should speak about the new norm first, or introduce myself first?
Yeah, introduce yourself and just tell us how you're doing with,
wonderful,
recovery.
wonderful. Okay. I must say it's an honor for me to be on this wonderful Queen Amina show, and more so to be in the company of my brother from Calabar, Gabe Onah, who in truth is the person responsible for me even understanding all about Africa and being able to visit Africa. So I'm humble and honored. Regarding this COVID-19, for me, I did not allow COVID to kill our spirits at home. Instead, we used COVID to do things that we wanted to do from a long time ago. For example, we have what we call a dance troupe by the name of Waturugu Dance Troupe that was launched on Africa Day. So we've used it quite wisely. And this entire opportunity to be able to connect all at once, I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I would bring up our main guest speaker for the show in the person of Mr. Gabe Onah. Please, could you tell us who you are and how you guys are adjusting to the norm in Calabar?
Once more, Queen Amina, I'm happy to be here. My name is Gabe Onah, Gabe for Gabriel. I am the chairman of the Cross River State Carnival Commission, the organizers of Carnival Calabar, Africa's biggest street party. And easily Nigeria's best foot forward in terms of organization of arts and cultural fiesta. For COVID-19, we have scored another differentiation owed to our lifestyle, owed to God's giving grace to the people of Cross River State. We pride ourselves as paradise on earth and blessed with a unique, youthful leadership of His Excellency Professor Senator Ben Ayade. We are blessed to record no case of coronavirus in Calabar in Cross River State yet.
Wow,
We
praise
pray
God.
that this will stay. He was the first to introduce the no mask, no movement principle. He was the first to introduce um, the head seclusion, of our people. He locked the boundaries on time. But besides this, my international consultant, the international consultant to the governor, my brother and friend, Mr. Ike Chuko, will tell you that the lifestyle of the people of Cross River State is consistent with good living. We are laid back, it's good for tourism. We are wonderfully green, clean and green. Our meals are freshly done by our mothers, by our wives, by our sisters daily. Then we exercise. Carnival Calabar itself, apart from the cultural renaissance and the cultural mix that it brings about, it allows us to exercise and the body organs are always alive. I see this playing out how we have taken over and faced the issues of coronavirus. This has played up seriously in the sense that um, healthy living, as they say, is next to godliness. This has played out. As we speak, there's no case of coronavirus in Calabar, Cross River State as a whole. The authorities were here last week and they gave us a clean bill, and Cross River State and another state. And I think so far so good. We are not letting this to get onto us. We are still ensuring that we keep to all the principles, all the advisories, keeping safe distances, social distances, keeping wearing our mask, cleaning our hands, washing our hands, always using sanitizers, and of course, the simple soap that anybody can reach out to. So far, so good, and we believe will continue to be an example of washing our hands, always using sanitizers.
Okay, guys, I'm pretty sure you're gonna get used to this on the show when we shoot from.
Our neighbors and continue to score this first. Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir. Your video is freezing up a little bit there, but somehow we're gonna walk through it. We're gonna get through this, guys. I'm used to this, so anyways, yeah, he's coming back. He's coming back for sure. Well, welcome again, Madam Sharon.
Thank you,
While we
Amina.
are waiting for Mr. Gabe to come back on the show, could you please tell us how this whole Africa thing started for you, and you're super enthusiastic about Africa now, and my goodness, you're just
Yes.
living and breathing Africa.
Yeah. True told, I am very humbled because when I look back, my journey when it comes to Africa started when I went to study in Cuba. I was about 23 years old when I departed Belize for Cuba. And there's where I met students from all over Africa. And for me, it was the very first time. And I can never forget, I spent time socializing, finding out about Africa, even falling in love with an African, and having two children as well. One was born in Cuba. And then while in Belize, life went on, and I, at the University of Belize, I must say, the university provided an opportunity for me to work with foreign students in my capacity as coordinator student services. And I met foreign students from all walks of life. But particularly, was this Nigerian student, Hope Amadi, who, as you know, Amina, he's like a son to me now, and we do a lot of work together.
That's
And
right.
I learned a lot about Africa from Hope, and then followed by Dr. Ifedi, who became an ambassador to Belize in Nigeria for Belize. And the Calabar Commission got in touch with him that they wanted Belizeans to go to Africa to participate in the carnival. So Hope and I, we worked together, and 2 years consecutively prior to my going, I was scared to go to Africa because I've heard so many negative things, and I was literally scared. But this wonderful gentleman who we have with us right now, my brother Gabe Onah, we started communicating, and he called me my sister. And I'm like, okay, this sounds, and it just became more and more familiar, like I'm a part of a family. And he encouraged me to come. And through Gabe Onah and my role to take young people to go and enjoy Calabar, Carnival Calabar. And by the way, Calabar has a meaning, you know, Amina. Come and live and be at rest.
Oh my goodness. I'm in
Yes,
Nigerian and I never knew that.
yes,
Wow. I
yes. Come
love
and live and be at rest.
I'm
And
gonna write that down. Say that
yes,
again. Come
come and
and
live
live
and be
and be
at rest.
at rest. Oh my
And
goodness.
Gibbona, our chairman,
Wow.
encouraged me to come to Africa. And he said, and he told me wonderful things. And I said, you know, despite all the negative things that I've heard, I will try, I will make it. And I went. And from my very arrival at the airport in Lagos, I was given a warm welcome. And Ikechi Uko, is a brother of mine right now, he's a consultant to the Calabar Carnival, and his group of young people, they made me felt as if though I didn't want to return to Belize. And by the time I arrived in Calabar and I met Gabona, the welcome was consistent with what I started receiving in Lagos and more. And that is the seed that was planted about 4 years ago that led me to this Africa Day and this desire to promote Africanism in Belize. And COVID came and knocked out the wonderful plan that we had. And my young people, and I'm surrounded by a lot of young people, they said, but we have online. Let's do it online. And I thought that it was going to be impossible. And then this gentleman from India, Dr. Roy, he went to your show, Amina, and he told you about Africa Day in
That's right.
Belize.
That's right.
And that's how I think you've played a very important role in making this thing happen.
That's
And it
right.
went all over the country of Belize and around the world.
Yeah.
And the gentleman we had as our guest speaker, Didier, I met him when I went to Aquaba African Travel Market, the 15th Aquaba African Travel Market. And I told him, once they open the borders, I haven't heard that it's being canceled. If I have to hitchhike to attend 15th Aquaba, I'll be there by God's grace, you know?
Amen.
So that's how
Amen.
Africa Day came about.
Facebook.
It's the exposure, and it has been a journey. So from now until I die, it's all about
Wow.
me knowing who I am. And I
Wow.
can never forget Gabe, and I'm sure Gabe will be able to pop in here. When we met the first time, you know what Gabe said to me? He said, Sharon, my sister,
Oh,
Welcome to the motherland. And
oh,
with that said, I'll give Gabe the mic.
you can't
Welcome home.
you can't beat that. Welcome to the motherland. You see, a lot of people are so afraid because of what the I don't like using the white man, but it is the truth. You know, the things that they have shown on the streets of the West, you know, they show how bad Africa is. They never tell you how beautiful Africa is. Yet they are in there taking and taking and taking and enjoying and vacating there, but they would never bring the good. That's why people like you and many other people there don't really know the true Africa for what Africa is until you go there. And I applaud you for taking that first step for going to go to Africa, a land where you knew nobody. You trusted your instincts and the people around you, and you visited. Look how your life has changed. So before I allow Gabe to take the floor, I want to talk to you guys watching the Queen Amina show out there. If you've never visited Africa, especially if you have a colored skin like me, or not even like me, make it one of your bucket list to visit any country in Africa. Any country in Africa. I bet you will never want to come back. The peace alone that you would receive, I can keep going on, but I'll save that for the next show when we're gonna have Her Excellency Ambassador Ericana Chihombori Kwa. She's coming on the show on the 8th of June. Make it a date. She's a powerhouse speaker. Don't miss out. So I'll save my preaching about Africa until she come on the show. So at this point, Mr. Gabe, if you don't mind taking on the topic of today, and just let us know. I'm pretty sure Sharon has said it all, how you guys met, and God bless you for being a great ambassador to our great motherland.
I'm honored to be here again. And Sharon, thank you for your great sentiments. And thank you for the love across the ocean we share. And once again, I bring you greetings from motherland, greetings from Cross River State, greetings from Calabar, greetings from His Excellency, the Governor of Cross River State, Professor Senator Ben Ayade. He has the gift in reconnecting people. He has the gift and power of inclusion. He gives it out as his own gift. God has blessed him with these great virtues. That is what I can say, because the idea of the International Carnival ab initio came from his soul, and all these are happening. I think in the course of my presentation, I will go into that. I'm just going to take on the topic of the day quickly, starting with Africanism itself. Thereafter, I will launch into tourism. Africanism, as you see, or as we've been hearing, is that state of baby boys, that it is time for our culture and our beliefs to predominate our thinking. It is time for Africa to begin to look inwards. It is time for Africa to take her own. It is time for Africa to begin to share with the neighbor. Recall in the 70s, we had Festac, 77. We said, people of the same race, of the same color, let us come on under umbrella and share. What do we share? We discover that when you do not visit your brother or your sister, you live in suspicion. You begin to think that that fellow is gliding on something you cannot understand. But we've always said that the things that unite us as a people or as common humanity are more than those things that disunite us. It is time for Africa truly to begin to aggregate as one. And this is what that great legend called Dubois, try to propagate. Come to tourism, movement of people from one location to the other, as long as you're not doing business, as long as you are staying over and you're not taking any permanent job. But in this movement of people, tourism is one very tricky sector where the product itself is marketed at the point of consumption. The product itself that used to be a site, if it is a tangible product, now becomes a destination after human activity or value addition. In recent times now, we've been introduced to events tourism, to experience tourism, the power of sharing, the power of meeting people, the power of language, the power of communication. The other day we were discussing a unique community in Cross River State where the women speak differently from the men. If you speak as a man when you are a woman, the women folks will tell you you're speaking like a man. You're not speaking like a woman. If you are speaking like a man when you are a woman, same goes. These are huge opportunities and products that we should begin now to go out to see and survey for ourselves. Let me connect how Africanism and tourism can make it for Africa. We have had the international carnival segment introduced into Carnival Calabar that was Hidero cast on the 12-kilometer walk, the 12-kilometer street dance that is replete with all the principles and characteristics of a wonderful theatrical experience. You have dance, you have the warmth, you have music, you have costume, you have makeup. But when the governor introduced the International Carnival, we discovered that our brothers and sisters in the diaspora needed this communion for us to appreciate each other. Our brothers and sisters on the other side, the Europeans and the Americans, needed to also come and see that indeed we are not living on trees, that indeed we are not living in holes, that indeed the challenge is actually the absence of certain body nutrients called melanin in their body that is making them the way they look, and that indeed the black man is smart, the African is smart, the African is strong, the African is beautiful, and the African is bold.
So just to intersect there a little bit. I see a lot of you just coming on the show right now. Please help us share the broadcast on your platform to invite your friends. This is a very important topic and we want everybody to be interactive. Send in your questions via the comment section. We would take your questions. If you don't want your name mentioned, I do understand the privacy. I would read out the question without mentioning your name. So please make sure you're sharing this broadcast to help others to get to know a little bit about Africa and hopefully make up their mind to join us very, very soon in some of the Calabar Carnival coming up by the grace of God when all of this lockdown season, it's all well and done. I will be there this year or next year for sure. Our guest again. Amen. We'll be there. Our guest also again today is Mr. Gabe Onah, the chairman of the Calabar Carnival, and my lovely newfound sister, Sharon Palacio. She's the CEO of Bell Africa Travel and Tours out of Belize. So welcome again. Please continue, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And this takes me to when the United Nations decided to declare the principle of cultural pluralism, that we must begin to share, we must begin to respect the other person, you know. And for the typical African, we love neighborhood, we love to share, we love to give warmth. I've always said this: what stands Cross River State, what stands Calabar out, and what stands our success story in this subsector is that we are warm and hospitable people. We give our best to our visitors. We give our best to those who are passing by. Remember, one of the virtues of humanity is actually sharing, giving, shelter, food, and clothing. And it brings me again to the movement of people. When our brothers and sisters got taken away by the unfortunate slave trade in time past, we thought that was unfair. But today, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora have now realized that there was a communication challenge that led to slave history. Today, our brothers and sisters are so willing to reconnect with their past. They need to come back home because motherland, the DNA beckons, motherland beckons. And if we ensure and make it possible for our brothers and sisters who are out there in the diaspora to come back home and see for themselves that truly humanity actually started from here. This is tourism on its own, because they will be coming and taking series of decisions. First of all, you're coming to see, to learn. You're also coming for a holiday, if you like. But thereafter, the unbeaten tracks of tourism, which is the unknown, what you felt before you came here now will begin to roll out, which is the business angle. And the value chain of this subsector, like we always say, is humongous. The opportunities are boundless. We need to key into it. I've always said in recent times during webinars like this that it is time for Africa to shine. It is time for Africa to look inwards. It is time for Africa to visit Africa. If we don't begin to encourage our young children to go to the next neighboring African country, and we cross the oceans to go to Europe, it is in Europe that they will go and learn about Kenya. It is in Europe that they will go and learn about Botswana. Then you know what will come with them: false, distortions, and it is usually the challenge with oral tradition. So I think the time is now. This topic is apt: Africanism, reconnecting with Africa through the eyes of tourism. We must begin to open our boundaries. We must begin to open the boundaries of the mind, the boundaries of the soul, that there's so much we can do. I'm not qualified to talk about our mineral resources, but I'm saying that we can meet and greet each other, and other things will come into play. Are you there?
Yes, yes, we're listening to you, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you. That is such a straight up truth that you have said. Now, you spoke about something that really caught my attention. You said we must begin to release ourselves and reconnect with the boundary of the soul. I think the whole genesis starts from there, in reconnecting Africa through not just tourism, but through the eyes of anything at all. We have to begin to reconnect ourselves through the boundaries of the soul. Having said that, how do we begin as Africans, okay, all over the world, to reconnect ourselves through the boundary of the soul?
Well, I mentioned earlier in my intro that First was held in Nigeria. We need to look at the gains of First. We have the Center for Black African Arts and Civilization, CBAC. In recent times, we've had opportunity to engage with Akwaba Africa Travel Market through road shows. We've had opportunity to deal and relate in Weizo. Weizo is also a travel and trade market in Ghana. We've also had other platforms like the Abuja Bantaba. We also have the African Heritage Diaspora Trail that usually hosts in Haiti and the rest of the diaspora locations. We need to be deliberate. Tourism planning itself tourism organization is serious business. Destination management organizations must pull together. Thank God, across Africa itself now, most of our countries are putting tourism on the front burner. So, but we need to be deliberate, and we need roundtables. We need deliberate roundtables to raise up these discussions and aggregate appropriately, and we'll take it from there. And we need to do it ourselves. We cannot wait for anyone else. We
That's
need to
right.
do it and take it up in our own hands and
Yes.
work with it.
The Africa that we want, we have to build it. We've allowed the world to build Africa for us for far too long. So coming
So,
together on round table and begin to deliberately decide to deliberate on these kinds of issues so that we can begin to build the Africa that we want. If not, after our generation, our children are going to suffer. I always look out
yeah,
for the children because, you know, how much more lives time do we have? So we
yeah.
have to, you know, sit down and begin to deliberate. Thank you so much. I have a question. Well, not a question, it's a comment from one of our viewers. He says, tourism has a super negative side to it also that would affect Africa in a negative way. For example, tourism can cause wear and tear in an infrastructure that we are just beginning to develop. The job sector also is a very low paying job that people cannot survive on except the tips that comes from the people visiting. It's going to get Africa overcrowded. Then he went on to say price inflation could be a negative one too. And our money may go to a big multinational corporations rather than the smaller local enterprises. So what do you have to say to that?
Okay, I'll tell you something. I studied tourism in Jamaica, and if you look at the islands of Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Barbados, they're surviving on tourism. Even in Belize, they're
Yeah.
surviving on tourism. And I said earlier, the tourism sector is one sector where the product must be consumed at location. You cannot export Ochorios. You cannot export Bob Marley's house in Kingston, Jamaica to Calabar for anybody to see. You must travel to see it. And the artisans who work around there, the docents, the tour guides, the taxi drivers, all survive through it. And it is for me, that's why I said earlier that we must be deliberate. Our boys and girls who work in this sector must appreciate the fact that your qualification to enter and survive in this subsector is just ability to meet and greet. The tips he's talking about, some tips are more than this your monthly salary. If you deliver quality service, you know, and it has to do with training and certification. So you're talking about infrastructure depletion. I don't think the moment the tourist arrives any of the ports, be it the airport, be it the seaport, be it the taxi park, the dollar or the naira begins to talk. In a responsible system, tourism development levies are charged. Tourism taxes are charged. These can be reconnected. This can be replowed back into the system. So it is a sure entry point for income generation. It is called a low-hanging fruit. It is one of the strong USPs now for SDGs worldwide. They've seen that this is one of the quickest ways to turn around the locals. And I tell you, when the locals take ownership of the products in their domain, when the locals take ownership of the sites, they protect them for future generation. And at the risk of being misunderstood, you cannot have an omelette without breaking an egg. Something must give. Something must give. But furthermore, I believe training will open our people more to understanding the proper things to do. We've seen tourism thrive in countries, you know, and a lot of countries have survived on this subsector. The Africa is even talking about East Africa and South Africa. Most of the countries there are surviving on tourism.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for that response. Before I go to the next question, I want to talk a little bit about Africa Day celebration. I think the commemoration was, if I'm not mistaken, 1963 or 5 years before 1963, when the OAU, sorry, came together for the African Union. And then from there, they started celebrating Africa Day. When they started celebrating Africa Day, the awareness begins to create a vast awareness to the people that don't know anything about Africa, where they were showcasing a lot of African culture, African food, African clothing, African hairstyle, African dance. You know,
Yeah.
do you think that that should be duplicated and maybe recommended into the system in the first world, in the Western world?
True. You've answered the question already. True, it should be. But our brothers in the diaspora, the black and Africans in the diaspora must lead. I was privileged and fortunate to attend the African American festival in Southeast Virginia, 2008, and it was huge. I saw our brothers out there doing what they took there through their DNA.
Wow.
And for United Nations to recognize Africa Day in 1963, and Belize observed it for the first time this year, is an indictment on ourselves.
I
This
was
should
so
have come.
blessed
This
to be
should have.
part of that history.
Yes, and this is why I must give kudos to Sharon.
Absolutely.
And this is why I must also give kudos to the ambassador, Nigeria's ambassador to Belize, Ambassador Ifedi.
Yes.
Possible. And this is why I must also give credit to our international consultant to the Governor International Carnival, Mr. Ikechi, who is the brain behind Accra, Wezo, and Akwaba. They took me on memory lane on Belize and on what Belize did, what Belize brought forth in 2016. You know, they have made us to bring Belize again and again. But I see that this was moving towards that consciousness. Consciousness. Phenomena, we discussed issues of the soul and the mind earlier.
That's right.
It is connecting with that consciousness that we need to, you know, and that self-realization that we need to take it, and that time is now.
Amen. Amen.
And
Sharon, yes.
And there's where I would like to add this entire, and that's the reason I have so much respect and gratitude for Calabar, for the carnival. I had no idea that at such an event, I would have been able to establish linkages for a lifetime. Because from abroad, you have about 38 countries, black and white.
Tell them to leave the light on. It's actually better. We get to see your face.
Okay. Yes. So at Calabar, the carnival, we actually, it is something that is well planned, because having to coordinate 38 countries, and there's where we need to give kudos to Ikechi
Uko. You're right,
Uko, and his team, because coordinating 38 countries is not an easy task. And they do it, and it looks so seamless. We're all taken care of. For example, the delegation that I carry would be 30 something, because we add Mexicans are there. And these Mexicans, we're like one big family. Wow. These Mexicans live next door to me. And as I speak, when we were planning this Africa Day, they were to be an integral part of Africa Day. And I had other persons coming. Gabe Onah was coming to Belize for the first time. So many people were coming to Belize that I met there in Calabar. And so you can see you form linkages for a lifetime and we
Mhm.
keep in touch. Didier, I met Didier at Aquaba. And today, Didier is a brother to me. So I believe that Calabar Carnival, the commission, they've taken a lead in connecting, reconnecting us, forming linkages for a lifetime. And there'll be many people like me who will be taking forward this Africa Day and ensuring that the term that I learned in Calabar, from pessimism to optimism, it is automatic. For example, myself in Belize, I can safely tell you, I have so many people asking me, is it true what you're saying, Sharon? Is it true? And I'm definitely true. As a result, for this Aquaba, the 16th Aquaba, I have a delegation of persons, professional persons, persons from all walk of life involved in tourism who want to come. But
Wow.
the leaders as such in my country when it comes to tourism, they made it clear to me that it is not a priority area. Africa is not a priority. But
Oh, really? Whoa.
yeah,
Okay.
it's not it's not their fault
I know.
because I could have been sailing in that same boat
If
had
you
it
didn't
not been for
go.
Gabe encouraging me to come.
That's
So
right.
when the people at the Belize Tourism Board are reluctant, they don't pay me any, they don't respond to my emails when I'm there telling them about Aquaba, it's not their fault. My job is to make a difference and I should not give up because my mission is to ensure a product, something. So when we were planning this Belize heritage, cultural heritage explosion, which would have been the 23rd of May, ending on the 25th, there I had an agenda and they would have seen persons coming from Nigeria, from Brazil, from Kenya, coming to Belize. And it was going to be something new. Tourism would have seen a growth and it would have been annual, but it will still happen. But now, thanks to COVID, I really thank God for COVID because it has given all of us in all walks of life to come together. Because look at Africa. Yesterday, I attended a webinar on tourism, and Africans are not sleeping. They're coming together, entire Africa,
Amen.
and looking at redefining, for example, the issue of visa. I heard them speaking about that yesterday. They'll be able to travel freely. Can you imagine that free flow? What all is going to happen? So, likewise, Belize, I am sure that after that, with time, as they're all looking at domestic tourism now, my father was a humble policeman. And my father told me, you see Palacio's retreat? Never ever allow it to depend on people coming from outside. Develop your local market. And there's where we develop diabetes run. And we have a lot of people coming to Palacio's retreat. So basically, I can safely say that after COVID, it's going to be a new world order. People will be discussing far more. Look at me. I have a dance group that came out of COVID. And my people are dancing to an Igbo song,
Wow.
and they're doing it so well. So there's so much. And when it comes to tourism, it's local people who will need to come together, define certain things, our religion, our history, our
Mhm.
culture.
Mhm.
There's so much that we have to offer.
Mhm. Amen to that. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. You know, when you spoke, you were speaking about how the small countries, I mean, islands, depending on tourism. I personally witnessed that when I went to Saint Lucia with my husband for the vacation, and after the second and third day, we're there for 2 weeks. So after the second and third day, we looked at each other and we're like, okay, what next? Because you see the sea and then more sea and then more sea, and it was just what they were selling. And after 3 days, we were just super tired. That we went to the sulfur water where you can bath with sulfur and whatever thing there. Those were the only things we got to see there, and then the twin mountains. But here is Africa. You name it, we have it, and yet we're so behind in everything. So that brings me to my next question for Mr. Gabe. Africa has been painted with a very old, rugged brush for too long. How do you think we can use the power of tourism to begin to rebrand and repaint Africa to come back to the beauty that it was originally meant to look like?
Okay, thank you very much. And this is where our professionals come to play. Our tour operators, stemming from policy, our policy drivers and our policy makers. We must be deliberate. And I recall some great African leaders who say that sharpening from the antecedents of our historical past, we are not ready to sit back and go through another round of slave trade. And the only way we can ensure that this does not happen to us again is to ensure that we engage our best hands. Our leaders and our policy makers and drivers must engage with the private sector, must engage with the sector drivers. Today we have not just DMOs, we have organizations that work under these DMOs with a deliberate do's and don'ts. Africa has so much to offer, but we need latitude. We need to break the boundaries. The boundaries we see in world maps are not seen when you are flying across countries. We don't need visas to visit our brothers across borders. We need common currency. And that currency, first of all, the moral MOU, to be sincere to your brother. But this stems from the leadership, the quality leadership we need to play up the true policies that will bring our people together, to see our people realize that this is our primary. Because in most modern destinations, the locals are first made to consume their own products, to show that it is safe, to take ownership, and thereafter protect the sites, be they flagships, be they modern destinations. But the locals must first of all have a feel. So, answering your question directly, there are two fronts: policy drivers and the implementers. We cannot undermine those who have put in so much in terms of their hearts into the sector. People who have invested so much into the sector. And it is a sector that, as I said earlier, knows no boundaries. As long as you can offer the kind of smile I'm seeing from Queen Amina, as long as you can offer the kind of warmth I see Calabar offer the people of the world, God gave us one of the finest real estates, our clean and green. Yes. And this is we are offering to the world, yes, through our receipts. And as long as this is translated into Naira and Kobo, to put monies in the voice of our hands, to put monies in the tables of families, it can be protected and it can be done. I said earlier that it is our time to shine. I digress a little. When United Nations decided to declare the principles of the Declaration of Cultural Pluralism, not too long ago, I think 2000 and 2001, November 2001, and a day in May was set aside.
Let me be on the queue until he stops talking, then I'll take your question. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. a day in May was set aside for people of the world to come together so that we can appreciate each other's culture. We can appreciate each other's challenges and progress under a unique umbrella, which in most cases today in action planning they call peer review. But African leaders, the private sector, I must tell you, I give them kudos. They have been struggling. They have been struggling. But our political leaders must be deliberate in this sector to encourage our people. And I could make bold to say the funding for this sector must be friendly. Accessing the funding for this sector must be friendly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have someone out of South Africa. Am I correct? Okay. That have a comment or a question for you. Go ahead, sir. What's your name?
Good evening. My name is Rollins. I'm an old friend of Gabe.
Rollins, I know you.
Okay. Welcome, sir.
Go ahead. How are you, my brother? And how are you, my sisters? And the topic is very interesting. I did tell Gabe that I've got a bit of challenge with technology, but I'll manage, and thanks God I've gotten through. It is very interesting, really. I think with all the God-given resources that we have right now, my argument is always that in Africa, Europeans come to Africa for business, yet we risk dying in the sea to look for jobs. It doesn't make sense to me. Something is wrong. It's either with us or with our leaders. You know, we have everything here. We need to start embracing back God and then taking what is rightfully ours. We do not need others to tell us what's good for us. We know what's good for us. Continue the way we are, you know, us throughout the continent. It would really help, you know.
Thank you so much for that comment.
Are we there?
Yes, we're here. We're listening to you. Thank you so much for that comment. Gabe said, the guy said,
Roland. Mr. Roland.
Okay, Mr. Roland. He said, we do not need somebody from outside to come tell us what we want in Africa. We know what we want in Africa. And I totally agree with you. The problem with we knowing what we want in Africa is that the Africans are beginning to become the colonizers of Africans themselves because they know what they want, which is causing a lot of trouble right now. And that was going to be my next question when you said that the policymakers are supposed to become deliberate and decide to sit down on round tables. So my question, thank you so much, sir. Do you have any other comment or any question before I let you go?
No, we look forward to when we can just take the fast train from here to the north, to the east, to the west, to the south.
Amen.
Without any hindrance, without having a show who you are. You don't show ID when you go to your cousins next door or you visit. So we shouldn't be also be holding passports to go throughout. But again, we need to all be vigilant of also the devil, because some of us also are agents of the devil. They are out there to destroy the good we want to build, and we need to condemn them in the strongest terms. And thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful input. That was just a super valid point, saying that the Africa that we used to know, the Africa that our ancestors came from, never had boundaries. They don't have Rwanda and Ethiopia and Nigeria borders. It was no boundaries. People could go freely from place to place until we were told otherwise. And the point he made there, that we're looking forward to the Africa where I would be able to visit my brother without having to show my passport. I love that. And that Africa can only be made possible when we, the younger generation, begin to arise to teach these older generations that, you know, you guys have been in existence for so many years and never did anything about the new Africa that we want to see. So my question to you before I go to my previous question that I was going to ask you is, how can we use tourism to empower the youth to begin to take their rightful position, so that way they will be able to arise and become united together and possibly bring this change that we have been preaching for many, many years.
Yes. Well, it's for me, it's easy. And I said earlier, the fellow who called from South Africa, his name is Rollins. He talked about no passports. And I said, we don't need visas. Yanni, the great jazz master, will tell you that the lines you see demarcating countries of the world are only seen in maps. When you're flying through, there are no lines. But coming back to your question, how do we get the youth? We need to empower them. First, training. Second, training. Third, training. Service delivery. Then knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. I led a team of about 24 young fellows to Jamaica for our certification in tourism. We did tour guiding skills and we did train the trainer. These are the first modules you must engage in. And who is making tourism tick in Jamaica? The Black Africans. Who is making tourism tick in Belize? Black Africans. So I agree with him. But coming back now, what do we do to encourage our young people? We need to arm them.
Do you have a question for us?
Question. I wanted to share my view on the topic that we're discussing. There was quite a few comments that you made, Queen Amina, that I do agree with. And I would just like to share my take on my experience living, on the first world, the western side of the hemisphere, and being the mom to two African boys. When we're speaking about empowerment of the youth, I believe it starts from home. There needs to be a level of pride and understanding. And from my experience, at least what I see here, and I don't mean to attack anyone, but I would like to speak candid, I find that sometimes when Africans migrate away from home, there is a level of culture shock, or they tend to maybe want to accommodate or adapt to their environment, which is understandable. But for us to take our rightful place, it starts with the little things that we do at home and the pride. And for me, personally, living in Canada for many years and having been married to my husband is actually from Ghana. And you find that had I not traveled to Nigeria for the Calabar Carnival, my personal experience would be far from what we're trying to discuss or what we're trying to achieve. And that is because I feel that sometimes when we migrate, we lose a lot of who we are, who we were. And for us to have that culture shift, for us to paint Africa with a different brush, yes, knowledge is available, but we all need to be entrepreneurs. We all need to be tourists or advocates for Africa, and we can change the brush, and we can change the brush that has been painted. We can empower our youth, but I think it starts from home, by the clothes we wear, the food we eat, the stores that we support. So here in London, there's about, I want to say, 2, maybe 3 African stores, and I try my very best to visit them and shop from them. That's keeping our dollars in the community. So yes, when we talk about tourism, we want to talk about traveling and this organization and that organization, but we must never forget the key organization of home. And for any change, it needs to start with the tiny things that we can do to contribute on the greater scale. And I just want to encourage all the Africans living abroad that there's so much we can do. We need to be unified. There's a huge, culture difference between Caribbean people and African people.
That's right.
And you know how people perceive. My dad's African, but I can tell you that a lot of times in Canada, some of the Africans don't welcome me because they assume that I'm not African. And then when I say, oh, my dad is from Guinea-Bissau, then they become my friends. And I mean, they might not do it consciously, but it's those tiny things that we need to, as advocates or people in position that has followers, that we need to encourage our brothers on a daily basis. Tourism happens every day. I send my kids to school in their African cloth that is sewn. And when they come back, the teachers are asking me questions. They want to know how I go to church in African attire, we match. So I feel like, yes, it's good to look at travel and the different institutions available, putting on these big shows. But what is the point of having Africa Day and then 2 weeks after Africa Day, we go back to adopt somebody else's culture?
Okay.
We need to ensure that our kids are eating our food, they're learning about us. So, yeah, that's just my take on it all.
Thank
and based on my experience and being able to travel.
Thank you so much for that wonderful contribution. And before I let you go, I'll just speak a little bit to one thing that you said. We Africans in the diaspora, we need to unite. That is where Mr. Gabe started by saying we need to break the boundaries of the mind, of the soul, of the spirit. You know, very many a times we come out here, like you rightly say, when we stay here too long, some of us tend to lose our culture. We tend to forget about where we came from. Why? Because we have migrated within our mind into the Western culture. And when you do that, you begin to forget where you come from, and very easily you begin to feel like you are different from this other person. And that is why he was advising that first we need to begin to deliberately decide to bridge the gap between the boundaries of the mind. I'll tell you something.
Amina,
yes.
Amina, excuse me there. That
Go ahead.
person speaking, I recognize the voice. That's my daughter.
Okay.
And she went along with us to Carnival Calabar.
Okay.
And she was so, I must say, she has reached the level that I've reached.
Mhm.
And thanks to Gabe Onah again, because if it wasn't for Gabe, we would have never been able to travel the way we did.
Yes.
And I can never forget what Mistress said when we departed. I had to slow her down when we returned to Belize because she said that she saw the African woman as very happy and secured.
We are.
And she came when she got back to Belize. I had to tell her to keep quiet because she was telling these gentlemen that they've lost their way from the original.
That's true. Thank you so much, my sweetheart. And everything she said is super, super correct, because if she didn't go, she wouldn't know. I'll tell you one shocking story. I was born in Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria. I came to Canada. I was about 22 when I came to Canada. But I'll tell you something that was a culture shock for me when I went back to Africa and I visited the East Africa for the first time. Honestly, I thought I was in a different continent altogether, because the things that I saw and the things that I grew up with was completely different, but yet very, very alike. What do I mean? The white man made the East African, or maybe this person that is not a Nigerian, believe completely different. Again, mindset. When they speak, when they talk, when they dress, it was the same as Africa, but their character was a little bit different. And I saw those things and I was asking myself, I said, wow, if only these people would see that we as Africans are one people, one people. We are not East Africa or West Africa. We are one African. Okay. When I came back here, I was telling my husband some of the things that I saw the Tanzanian person doing and saying about the Nigerian person, and it broke my heart. These are not things I'm going to start airing here. Why? Because the mind, we need to fight the battle of the mind first. That is where everything is going to start from. Thank you so much for your input there. It was wonderful.
Thank you too for answering the calls, and keep up the amazing work. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Please get your people, your friends, your family, your neighbors, preach Africa to them, and they got to go visit Africa.
Of course, but I can tell you, I am very proud of who I am and my culture, and evident in the food my kids take to school and the clothes we wear, everything we do, we must represent who we are.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
You do too. Bye.
Thank you. Sorry there, Mr. Gabe. I think she made another valid point that I would love you to talk about. Our time is fast spent, but I really want you to talk about that, where she said that Africans should support Africans. We don't have that. We don't have that. Africans should support Africans.
Well, it is beginning to happen. And at the risk of being misunderstood again, this is where we're going to draw from the inspiration of COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it has become difficult for any one of us to go to anywhere in the last 90 days. So can't we go to Ghana? Can't we go to Sierra Leone? Can't we go to Niger Republic? So we need the two hands to wash each other.
That's right.
And this is the true African spirit. The African spirit shares. The African spirit jubilates. The African spirit smiles.
That's right.
And like we will say, it takes two hands to beat the drum. So that is the support structure already going. So this has to be translated in the way our leaders lead us. It has to be deliberate. I said earlier at the risk of being misunderstood again that our funding for this sector, the commissions or whatever, should not be beyond a digit. It should not be beyond 9%. If it must pass 5%, so that our people can be strengthened in this subsector. It is only in Africa you hear our grandmother say, if you're strong, cover your brother from the wind that is blowing through his back, or cover your sister's skirt from the wind that is blowing. Those are things that we use in connecting and encouraging and learning as we go. So I'm happy you've re-echoed my prayers. The mind must be free. You know, I will take it from.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of our show today. We have only 1 hour. I wish I could keep you guys much longer. But before I let you go, there are a couple of things that are coming up that I would love to talk about. We're going to be celebrating International African Youth Day. Is that what it is, Madam Sharon?
Yeah. Basically, we were looking at the name because it's a direct brainchild from Africa Day in Belize, because young people didn't want to go home. So we realized that we need to bring them together. They need to know more. So we've coined the name Afro-Latin Youth Festival. Because Belize's geographic position is Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras. So that's what we're looking at. And so you can go ahead, Amina, and you're a part of that because we want your publicity.
I am a big part of it. I'm super excited about that. It's going to be coming up from the 2nd of October all the way to the 12th of October. We will be celebrating from about over 16 African countries have already.
We're looking at 20.
20 African
We're trying to recruit, yes.
Awesome. So
I'll definitely send Gabe an email.
Awesome. Look out for that. And Mr. Yes.
Can I give this parting shot?
Say that again.
I'm giving you a parting shot. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
That I want our listeners and our viewers to know that Calabar is well positioned. Calabar Cross River State is well positioned, and as Sharon said in her opening, our acronym is Come and Live and Be at Rest. And God gave this to us. We are giving this in return to the universe. That of the 2.4 million slaves that left to the New World, to the Americas, to the Caribbeans, as it's called today. Of that number, 30.1% passed through the coast of Calabar. Our brothers and sisters were raided from Makadi up to Arochukwu, up to Goja, up to Enugu, all passed through Calabar. And today, if we are sincere with ourselves, nobody would want to go back on that. But that our brothers and sisters who are willing to reconnect with their past want to come and see their origin. This is tourism. It is called roots tourism. We have hosted the likes of Mighty Sparrow from Trinidad and Tobago. We've hosted Marlon Jackson. We've hosted a huge and long line of grade 1 VIPs who think Africa, who eat Africa, who sleep Africa. We must celebrate each other. We must celebrate ourselves. Tourists who visit Ghana would want to see another look. And sometime they would rather come to Cross River State, Nigeria. Next time, they would like to go to the Cameroons. We must be deliberate in marketing each other. That's my parting shot.
Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. Thank you so much for the time that you spent with us today. And I promise you that I would become another ambassador for the Calabar Carnival every year, and I'll be promoting it hard on my show. And I will be there the next time you have that show, by the grace
Please
of
come
God.
home. Come home. Welcome home.
Thank you, sir. You have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
God
Thank
bless
you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. Good to see you. I'm honored. Thanks. Thanks, Amina.
All right, Madam Sharon. Thank
Yes.
you so much. What are your final words for our viewers listening today?
Well, my final words is my maxim that I've coined from Africa Day is I connect, you connect, everyone connect. Those are my parting shots. That's
All
what
right.
we need as a people.
Thank you so much. Oh, there's
And the last thing I want to say, long live Calabar. I love Calabar. And I'm sure that Calabar will also come to Belize, and it's one big family now. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The Lord God Almighty bless you. May He enlarge your coast and empower you to help more people and make you a blessing in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Amen. Thanks.
God bless you. All right, guys. I am so excited for the show today and the guest that joined us today. It is a fantastic session, and I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Sometimes I speak English backward. Pardon me for that. Before I let you guys go, there's something happening really good in Nigeria this weekend. If you are around, I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to post it on my wall. It's a movie produced by my producer. It's called 2 Weeks in Lagos. So if you're around Abuja this weekend, it is a drive-through movie premiere. So you should check that out. And on June 8th, we are going to have Her Excellency Ambassador Ericana Chihombori Koa. She was the former ambassador to AU. She's going to be on our show again, talking about the way forward in Africa. Powerful woman. I love her. So don't miss out on that show. On Sunday, we have the Are Onah Kakanfo, which is the king of the Yoruba Progression Union, I think, Odua. He's going to be with us here on Sunday, the person of Dr. Gani Adams. So I hope you guys are connected, and keep watching the Queen Amina show. Please share the broadcast, invite your friends and family to join us in a live chat like this with our guest. I am super honored to host the show for you guys today. And as long as you continue to join in the show, you will empower us to continue to broadcast and bring you great speakers. And I learned something super fantastic today. I never knew that Calabar is the full meaning of Calabar is come and live and be at rest. Who doesn't want to be at rest? I love that. Oh, my producer is saying that we should do a movie called 2 Weeks in Calabar. Yes, 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 Aunt Catherine, I'm super excited. I will talk to Mr. Gabe, and hopefully they would sponsor it. Why not? I am all for it. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining. I didn't even know she was there. All right, so you guys done, hop on to Facebook or Instagram with It's Okay Might Be Live or Lillian Emefiele on Facebook. Watch out for their shows. They're coming up quite often. And my favorite new sister, Susan West. You should be connecting with her show too. Super informative. This Sunday, I think it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock our time here in the West. And yeah, go learn. These are all learning platforms. And God bless you. I love you all so much. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram on the Queen Amina Show. See you same time, same place tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, keep sharing the video and keep watching the Queen Amina Show. Thank you all.